Evening, folks. It's a question that's got everyone talking. Is Pep Guardiola's possession-based football starting to falter? We've all been mesmerized by his teams, the way they stroke the ball around, the almost arrogant dominance of possession. But lately, it feels like something's changed. The results aren't always there, and the beautiful game's looking a bit, well, less beautiful. Pep Guardiola is known for his possession-based football, but recently it seems like his tactics aren't delivering the desired results. Is this just a blip, a temporary dip in form? Or are we witnessing the start of a more permanent decline? Have opponents finally cracked the code, figured out how to unlock Pep's seemingly impenetrable system? Well, tonight, we're diving deep into the tactical trenches. We're dissecting the beautiful game, analyzing the strategies, and asking the tough questions. Join me as we explore the top 5 reasons why Pep's possession-based tactics might be failing. Pep Guardiola is known for his possession-based football, but recently it seems like his tactics aren't delivering the desired results. Let's dive into the top 5 reasons why. One of the biggest criticisms leveled at Pep's style in recent times is its predictability. Teams, especially in the Premier League, have had seasons to study his methods, to analyze every pass, every movement, every attacking pattern. When you play a certain way for so long, when your game plan is built around a philosophy that's almost etched in stone, it's bound to happen. Opponents will start to anticipate your moves. They'll know where you're going to pass, where the space is, and how to shut down those passing lanes. We've seen it time and time again this season. Teams sitting deep, defending in numbers, content to let City have the ball in non-threatening areas. They're happy to concede possession, to soak up the pressure, because they know that City's attacks are becoming increasingly predictable. It's like watching a film you've already seen a dozen times. You know all the plot twists, the jokes, the big reveals. The element of surprise is gone, and that's a problem for a manager like Pep, who thrives on innovation and tactical flexibility. Take the recent match against, say, Tottenham. They were happy to sit back, absorb the pressure, and then hit City on the counter-attack with blistering speed. It's a tactic that's becoming increasingly common, and it's one that Pep is struggling to find an answer for. The question is, can he adapt? Can he evolve his tactics, introduce new elements, or is this predictability going to be his Achilles heel? It's a tough one because Pep's philosophy is so deeply ingrained in his DNA. He's a true believer in possession-based football, and it's brought him incredible success over the years. But the game is changing and opponents are evolving. To stay ahead of the curve, Pep may need to tweak his approach, to add some new wrinkles to his tactical repertoire. Now let's talk about speed, or rather the lack of it. One of the hallmarks of Pep's possession-based style is the patient, almost hypnotic build-up play. It's like watching a boa constrictor slowly squeeze the life out of its prey. The problem is, this slow, methodical approach can sometimes be its own undoing. It gives opponents time to organize their defense, to get men behind the ball, and to close down the space. By the time City reach the final third, the opposition's defense is often so compact and well-drilled that it's like trying to break down a brick wall. In the past, Pep's teams have had the individual brilliance to unlock defenses, even the most stubborn ones. Players like Messi, Xavi and Iniesta could conjure up a moment of magic in the blink of an eye. They could thread a pass through the eye of a needle, dribble past defenders like they weren't even there. But this City team, while undoubtedly talented, doesn't quite have that same level of individual brilliance. They rely more on collective movement, on intricate passing sequences, and on wearing down the opposition. And that's where the lack of speed can hurt them. When you're facing a team that's content to sit deep and defend, you need a bit of pace, a bit of directness to catch them off guard. You need a player who's willing to run in behind, to stretch the defense, to create space for others, someone who can turn defense into attack in the blink of an eye. Without that kind of threat, Pep's possession-based football can start to look a bit one-dimensional, a bit predictable. And as we've already discussed, predictability is not a good thing when you're trying to break down a well-organized defense. Chapter 3. Defensive vulnerabilities leaving the back door open. Right, let's talk about defense. Now, Pep's teams are known for their attacking prowess, for their ability to keep the ball and dominate possession, but there's always been a slight trade-off, a vulnerability at the back that opponents have been quick to exploit. When you play with such a high line, when your fullbacks are essentially auxiliary wingers, you're always leaving space in behind. It's a calculated risk, and one that Pep has often been willing to take. After all, if you've got the ball 70% of the time, the opposition shouldn't be able to hurt you, right? Well, in theory, yes, but football, as we know, isn't played on paper. It's played on grass, and sometimes it's played on the counter-attack. And that's where the problems can arise for Pep's teams. When they lose the ball in high areas, they're often left exposed at the back. The opposition can break quickly, exploiting the space vacated by the marauding fullbacks, and suddenly they're in on goal. We've seen it happen countless times over the years. A misplaced pass, a loose touch, and bang, the opposition is through. It's the price you pay for playing such an expansive, attacking style of football. Now, some might argue that it's a price worth paying. After all, you can't win trophies without taking risks, and Pep's teams have certainly won their fair share of silverware. But there's no doubt that this defensive vulnerability is something that opponents have identified and exploited. They know that if they can weather the storm, if they can stay in the game long enough, they'll eventually get their chances on the break. And when those chances come, they need to be ruthless. Because against a team like City, you might only get one or two clear-cut opportunities. Chapter 4. Player fatigue. Can you press forever? Let's be honest, lads, Pep's style is demanding. It's high energy, high intensity, and it requires a certain level of fitness and stamina. You're constantly on the move, pressing, harrying, trying to win the ball back as quickly as possible. And that can take its toll, especially over the course of a long, grueling season. We've seen it in the past with Pep's teams. They start the season like a house on fire, playing with an intensity and a tempo that few can live with. But then, as the season wears on, the legs start to get heavy. The pressing isn't as intense, the passing isn't as crisp, and the mistakes start to creep in. It's like a marathon runner hitting the wall. They've given it everything, but their body simply can't sustain that level of effort for the entire race. Now, Pep's well aware of this, of course. He's got a whole team of sports scientists and fitness coaches monitoring his players' every move, making sure they're in peak physical condition. But even with the best preparation in the world, there's only so much you can do. The human body can only take so much, and when you're playing at the intensity that Pep demands week after week, something's got to give, and often it's the results that suffer. We've seen it time and time again. City will be flying high, looking unstoppable, and then suddenly they hit a bump in the road. They drop points in a game they should be winning. They struggle to break down a stubborn defense, and the doubts start to creep in. Chapter 5. Over-reliance on key players. What happens when the stars don't shine? Now, every team relies on its best players, that's a given. But with Pep's system, the reliance on certain individuals can be even greater. When your style is built on intricate passing triangles, on quick, one-touch football, you need players who are on the same wavelength, who can anticipate each other's movements. Think back to his Barcelona side. Messi, Xavi, Iniesta, they were the heartbeat of that team, the ones who made everything tick. When they were on song, Barcelona were virtually unplayable. But when one or two of them were missing, or even slightly off their game, the whole system could unravel. The passing lanes would be cut off, the movement wouldn't be as fluid, and the goals would dry up. It's a similar story with this City team. They've got some exceptional players, world-class talents who can win games on their own. But when those key players are missing, or not firing on all cylinders, the team can struggle. The burden of expectation falls on the shoulders of the remaining players, and the pressure can be immense. It's like a well-oiled machine that's missing a couple of vital cogs. It might still function, but it won't be as smooth, as efficient, or as effective. And in the cutthroat world of professional football, where the margins are so fine, that can be the difference between winning and losing. Outro: the future of Pep's possession game. So, there you have it, folks. 5 reasons why Pep's possession-based tactics might be failing. Of course, it's not all doom and gloom. Pep's a brilliant manager, one of the best we've ever seen, and I've no doubt he's already working on solutions, on ways to evolve his tactics and stay one step ahead of the game. While possession football has its merits, it's clear that even the best tactics need to evolve. The game is constantly changing, and managers need to adapt to survive. The question is, can Pep adapt? Can he find a way to make his possession-based style more effective, more unpredictable, more difficult to defend against? What do you think Pep should change? Let us know in the comments below.